Okie dokie. Okay, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I think I'm good to go. Subtitles, captions. Let's see, is this going to work for me? Subtitles and captions? No, I don't think they're gonna. That's fine. Whatever. Hi, good morning. Yes, I am very rapidly becoming the old fart. It is my birthday today. I am 38 years old. Just getting older and older. Thank you, Shiny Mew Paints. Good to see you. Good morning. I figured today I'm going to continue working on the Death Guard. So let's go ahead and get rid of where'd it go? The starting soon and the starting soon image. I also added a little background because I figured that first of all, having my entire monitor be the camera feed was a bit much. So hopefully this will, especially when I'm playing games, allow me to shrink the monitor size down a little bit, and you can actually see more of the screen and I'm blocking less of it. But let's see, main camera, bam. Okay, there we go. That looks a little bit better. Unfortunately, let's get rid of that logo down there because we don't need the watermark. Let's see, where can it go? Can it go there? No. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay, because while I am using Camo Studio, it's not super important that you guys know I'm using Camo Studio. And normally, my VPO blocks it, but since I made the screen smaller, it's still there. So yeah, happy May 7th. It is my birthday, and I believe that we have some fun things today, because I have decided that, first of all, I took the day off work, so I could just kind of celebrate my birthday on my terms. And secondly, I'm going to be streaming twice today. I'm going to stream some painting this morning, especially because I missed yesterday due to a combination of dehydration and massive headache. And then after I come back from lunch, I'm going to stream some Yakuza 0, or Yakuza Like a Dragon, because that game is awesome and deserves to be streamed. So today what I'm doing is 3 years older than you? Wow, cool. I always am kind of curious about the age of the people that I hang out with because, you know, especially with the internet, no one really knows. But, what was I just thinking? Oh yeah, today we're going to be working on Death Guard. And last time I worked on Death Guard, I was given some suggestions instead of just doing the straight Death Guard colors that I was doing, which, you know, looks like this. It was recommended that I go ahead and start exploring other Death Guard combinations for colors, and I managed to find 4 that I think are going to look really neat and provide some variety for these guys. So where'd it go? I have an image slideshow of the 4 that I'm going to be going through. That is the palette hand. I actually don't remember the names of all of them, but that's one I'm going to be doing, and I'm pretty sure I'm just going to go ahead and make that my this guy, just because I love this model so much, and I feel like he'd look really good with palette hand coloring. And this one is going to be with the red trim that you see on the Hellbrute, because again, just a great looking combination. Let's see, that one, once again, don't remember the name. I've started right here with this guy, so we're getting there. We've got some ideas. And the one that's the Plague Burst Crawler, I'm going to go ahead and do with this guy. So hopefully it's all going to look good when I finish. But right now, what I'm working on is the trim on my 4 guys that are painted like standard Death Guard that have that super saturated green. So we're going to go ahead and work on the trim today for that, and we'll see how that goes. So we got this guy. I'm actually not sure where I left off on a lot of these guys, just because it's been a minute since I've actually worked on them, and I have not reviewed the video, but I know for a fact they still need some highlighting on the actual green portion. And another thing, if I miss your chat, I'm sorry, but like the chat window on OBS Studio seems to have gone completely nuts, and is now showing me what looks to be parts of the rest of the overlay, the control panel, but just like not correctly. So I don't know what's going on there, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and work on the trim, or the highlights I mean, for the armor on the first 4 models I was working on, just so I can actually potentially get these up to be a little bit brighter. Because while I do like the overall color, I do feel like it's not quite as contrasty as I would like it to be. So the first bits I'm going to be doing are going to be really subtle, because it's all going to be trim work, which is not something I do very often anymore. I've been so stuck in doing like Marvel Crisis Protocol. Thank you for the birthday. Thank you, Red. How's it going? It is indeed my birthday. I am 38 years old, 38 years young, and I decided to take the day off so I could properly celebrate my birthday my way, which in this case is going to be streaming more miniature painting. And right now, I just kind of want to work on getting these guys to be slightly more contrasty, slightly more highlighty, because as I look at them, while they are nice and like emerald green, I would like to bring it up even further. So I'm using Pro Acryl's just green and mixing it with Averland Sunset. Not bad. Finished your first Votan mini. How'd you like the Votan? I really like their minis, but like I leaned too hard into a meme and made them all Among Us. And I also was a little off-put by the fact that their dwarves didn't have like incredibly big bushy beards, which I know isn't super important, but aesthetically it's one thing I really like about dwarves. So seeing that there were only like 2 models with that was off-putting. Yeah, I know. I'm not old yet. And I'm okay with that. I am starting to hit that age though where I got to start watching my diet. I had a health screening yesterday, and as it turns out, a lot of my numbers were good, but I definitely had some that I need to watch out for, especially as my body starts getting to that point where it's no longer improving, it's kind of just slowly degrading. You went with purple and yellow. Once again, a very good color combination, so kudos to you for the good taste. I hope they turned out really good. If you want to show them off in the Discord, you're more than welcome to. It'll take me a minute to get to them just because I'm kind of focusing in really hard on getting the trim done on these guys. So it may take me a minute to actually take a look at them. Okay. A little bit of that. A little bit of that. And I don't even know how much this is showing up on camera, but the whole point is to create very subtle highlighting that will eventually draw the eyes to the bright spots and the high spots of this mini. So my goal is to not go overpowering with it, but just to continue to add little bits of color on the focal points of each of these armor plates. And hopefully what that'll do is it'll draw the eyes to those highlights and create a nice sense of depth. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about this quite a bit, just because highlighting is one of the bigger parts of mini painting if you're going for like high detail, high contrast. Fixing the showcase, very cool. Actually, I just reached a stop point, so let's see what you got. Showcase, baby. Yeah, that looks fantastic. Those are awesome. Give me a second. The yellow cloak was the yellow gold cloak was a good touch. That was a smart. Where'd he go? Okay, so bam. So we got a call, and he definitely looks fantastic. The purple armor looks really good. You managed to get a really nice metallic sheen on it that I think is quite impressive. And we got the back of the call, and again the highlighting choices and the low lighting or the shadow choices on that, very good. You got some great contrast going on there. I definitely love the look of purple and gold, and it's been kind of associated with me for a little while because I went to a college that was purple and gold, and then I taught at a school for 10 years that was purple and gold. So yeah, that's a color I'm very familiar with, and I love seeing how good it can look when paired together. Okay. Now, one thing I will say is highlighting is infinitely more difficult when you've got a brush that does not have a good tip. And that's kind of what I'm dealing with now. This Winsor & Newton has seen better days. So getting these ultra-fine brush strokes that just kind of subtly blend into each other is a lot more difficult. And so I'm kind of working against the brush here. But honestly, especially with these guys, I like the rougher look. Because I feel like with how decayed they are, having that slightly more painterly aspect really reads well. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now. Let's see. And so hopefully, you were gonna put more red, but thought, nah, yeah, I agree with you. Having it as a magenta to kind of accentuate the red is probably going to work a whole lot better than trying to put more red. And the color combination you've got going on right now looks fantastic. So good restraint there. It looks really darn good. Okay. And so once again, this is all about doing like tiny little layers. Nothing in here is meant to be big or bold or overpowering, because if you do that, then everything just kind of looks like one solid bright color. So by taking smaller and smaller amounts, the brighter you go, the more it kind of focuses in on the high spots, and the spots you really want the eyes to focus on as being the ones with the most light concentration. Okay, let's see if I can readjust my grip. I still need to get a better camera mount than what I have, because it is definitely causing some issues with positioning, and that's because right now it's just kind of hanging off of the ceiling. But that is one of my goals if I start having some more money this year, is potentially buying a better camera setup. And I think, actually, I can use my old DSLR. I just need to get an HDMI converter for the video feed. And once I do that, I already have one of those plug-in batteries that make sure that it stays powered on. So I can just plug that in, hook it up to the camera mount, and then hopefully use that as like a far higher quality web camera than what I'm currently doing. Okay. Let's see. Again, just kind of working the highlights in here. I'm not trying to go for anything drastic because I've gotten beyond that point. Usually the mid-tones are where you actually start filling in some brighter spots. So in this case, all I'm doing is getting some of the highlights on certain spots that need it, that need that extra brightness. And it looks like I went ahead and pre-ordered the Poxrock Vector, or whatever it was called, the new Battle Force, because it was just way too good a deal to pass up, and it essentially finishes my Death Guard army. And so that actually looks like it's getting ready to ship either today or tomorrow. So I'm going to have a whole lot more Death Guard to play with, and I'm going to have to learn how to speed paint it a little better. Which I think means there's going to be a lot of dry brushing involved, because that tends to get some pretty good, pretty quick layering. And that might end up being the MO for those guys. And I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with the new Death Guard rules. And I know that they're not going to be great for a while, because eventually Gabe's Workshop is going to be like, wow, we might have swung too hard in the other direction, and now they're really stinking good. So they're probably going to nerf them again, but I don't care. Just seeing that they got some extra toughness and got some extra power and some punch is really nice. So hopefully I'll be able to get that stuff painted up and on some tables very soon. Okay. And so you can kind of see, I'm not sure how well it's showing up on the camera, but you can kind of see I'm not trying to create like an entirely bright rim on here. Instead, I'm highlighting the edges and then really focusing in on one single spot. So I've got both rims highlighted, both edges highlighted, and then I'm just taking a little highlight in the middle, and that's kind of showing where the light is hitting it the hardest. Okay, same with like down here. We've got the inside and the outside highlighted, and then a little bit in the middle. And so I'll have to watch the video back, but you can see how much brighter he now looks because of that highlight. So what I'm going to do now is add just a little bit of Dorn yellow, which is kind of like an ice yellow, and use that to only hit the highest of high spots. But yeah, I had a health screening yesterday, and I already know that my blood pressure has been an issue, and I'm pretty sure that's just a stress-related thing. But it really kind of sucked to find out that I basically need to eat a whole lot less carbs and fatty foods because my resting heart rate is really bad. And it's weird because I have been eating better, and it's just like, well, the issue is stress. So if you want me to have less issues with this blood pressure and whatnot, then pay me more. Because otherwise, my body is going to continue to stress out, and there's not much I can do to change that. Be less stressed. Like, I'd love to, but I can barely pay rent. So it's one of those things where, like, you can't budget your way out of poverty. And unfortunately, that's just becoming more and more the case. Because my issue isn't that I'm not spending my money intelligently. My issue is that I don't have enough money to actually put any aside. But that's okay. I'm making steps towards that. My current job is far less stressful than my previous one. I enjoy it immensely, and I have a lot of stability there. And yeah, same thing with this color. It's, as you can tell, it's a much brighter color than my previous one. So I'm not even trying to fill in all the way. I'm just kind of dabbing it. Morning, Grizzhood. How's it going? Just kind of talking about the process of these highlights that I'm doing, because I found this paint scheme for the Death Guard a while ago that I really like, and it's really oversaturated. It's really bright, and one of the biggest mistakes I've made pretty consistently up until I learned this system was that I would over highlight and I would overcorrect and put too much of a color on any specific point. So learning that you're just supposed to kind of hit little baby spots to show that it's a diminishing brightness that only focuses on a tiny spot really helped me. And I think that showing it off and talking about it will hopefully help others. That being said, I hope your day is going well. My day is going pretty okay. I actually took today off because it's my birthday, and I wanted to celebrate. And I'm celebrating by doing something I haven't done in a while, which is paint and stream. And then after lunch, I'm going to be streaming some Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's pretty good. You got around to getting some Skaven Night Runners and Plague Monks that you're kit bashing from Mordheim. Very cool. Another one of those games that I'm like super interested in playing, but I don't have the time or money to play. Thank you. Thank you for the birthday wishes. So far, it's been a pretty good one, and unless something catastrophic happens, knock on wood, it's gonna keep being pretty okay. I know those are always famous last words, but as far as I know, we've gotten everything pretty much settled, so I shouldn't be having any surprises today, which is pretty aces. Okay, so let's see again. Now that I'm going into the highest of highlights, I don't actually want to cover all the same space that I covered last time. I'm just trying to hit on the focaliest of focal points. Oh, and speaking of Skaven Grizzhoot, check this out. This was given to me by a friend as payment for painting up some Krieg Guardsmen for him. They don't sell this anymore, I don't think, do they? They've replaced them entirely with the ones from the Scaventide box. But what was funny about it is that I actually gave these to him as a wedding gift, because he was at my wedding, and it was like, thank you for being at my wedding. But he's just so busy and hasn't had a chance to get to him, and knows that he won't for a while, that he was just like, you know what, how about you have these back, because I know you need them for your Skaven army, and you're going to do an awesome job painting them. And it was just like, cool. I am extremely excited about this, because it's less rats that I need to purchase. So yeah, I'm very excited to paint those lads up at some point. Now, I will say, when it comes to this highlighting stuff, I'm still really inexperienced at it. So I'm still kind of just like, I hope I'm doing this right. Because all I really know is that you're supposed to cover less and less space on the mini with each highlight. And that's what creates kind of that focal concentration for your eyes to follow. So all I'm trying to do is hit like 70% of where I covered last time. And especially on like fingers and stuff, that just becomes increasingly difficult, because it's like, it's so tiny. It's looking good to you, thank you. I've got three other models to do in this scheme, and then I've got three other ones from the kill team that I've got to do in a different scheme that I've never done before. So I'm kind of excited. I actually found a really good weathering, strategy technique. So check this out. This guy was he was painted brown. He was based black and then airbrushed brown, and then I dry brushed a bone color over him, and then like a bone plus a white, and then I hit him with an army speed painter brown that I mixed with airbrush flow improver and airbrush paint thinner, and it acted like an ink, so it kind of just ran into the crevices, but also like added this layer of grime on him, so it ended up looking pretty darn good for a lot less effort than I was expecting to have to put in. So I'm really excited to continue working on him, make him look even better. And this guy I did without the airbrush thinner. He just had the flow improver, and you can see he looks considerably dirtier, but that actually works okay, because these are going to be two different Space Marine or Chaos Legions, so hopefully that will show when I start putting the trim and whatnot on them. But yeah, I hated speed paints for a while just because it never worked for me and they always looked terrible. But what I found out was I just wasn't doing it right. And using them with the flow improver and the thinner did a really good job of treating them more like an ink than just a speed paint. Though I'll also be honest, I've also kind of learned to love them as speed paints too, because what I started doing was the slap chop method, where you start black and then you dry brush gray and then you dry brush white over it. If you really push that dry brush and then go over it with a speed paint, it looks fantastic. I've been speed painting a bunch of Marvel Crisis Protocol minis for a commission, and it does a lot of work really quickly. So if you're ever looking to get your army painted up real quick but still looking really good, do the grisaille dry brushing underpainting method, and it will save you a whole lot of time. In fact, since most of my minis are painted were for D&D and just had to be tabletop standard, lots of minis, I really like the speed paint. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I wasn't too much of a fan of it because I felt like it took that meticulousness out of it. But if you're not looking for ultra meticulous minis and you still want them to look good, I feel like it does a great job. So like this guy, I didn't use a single actual brush stroke on him. I did the dry brush thing, and then I used a metallic speed paint over the metal parts, and then I used a thin down blue over that, and I used a thin down black over everything else. And you can see he looks fantastic. He's got all sorts of depth going on. He looks awesome. And same thing with Sandman. Sandman, I think the only thing I used actual solid paints on was the cinder blocks and the stops, or the traffic light. Everything else is just dry brushed on and then speed painted over. So again, these look really good for much less effort and time. And yeah, this is a big one. Thank you, Darkbolt. This guy, same thing. I really just did entirely speed paints with him. The only thing that wasn't speed painted were the stripes, which I then dry brushed over, and it looks fantastic. Thank you, Corehawk. It's my birthday. It's my birthday, and I celebrate it by taking the day off so I can stream some painting, which I feel like I don't do enough of. And, you know, eventually getting to play more Yakuza, because I'm so bought into Yakuza right now that I feel like I need to play more. But yeah, I'm not really doing anything super exciting. I'm just kind of doing some very subtle highlighting to really bring out the brightness in the sky. Whoops, way too high. So I will let you know that I'm having a hard time seeing chat because the chat window in OBS has gone whack and isn't showing me anything. So I'm now using the very tiny chat window in the overlay preview to kind of see what people are saying. Multiple warbands for your Death Guard teal team? Yes. Yes. You guys gave me some really good suggestions the last time I painted them, and I really like the look of some of the chapters or legions that were being shown off. So I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and do that. I think I have enough. So I feel bad because I don't remember the names of all of them, but I am doing the core Death Guard color scheme for these guys, and actually, especially against this one, you can really see how much the highlighting is helping bring out the green in the mini. But I'm gonna do the base color for these three. I really like this Plague Icon Bearer. He looks freaking cool. But yeah, to give you an idea, this guy, the Plague Icon Bearer, he's got like 3 steps on him. He's got brown, then green, brown, then green. And this one has like 4 steps on him because he's got an additional yellow, green, and then bright yellow for the highlights. And you can see how much more vibrant that looks. So if you ever want to do really high contrast painting, I do suggest going through that layering system. And the other ones I've got, I think this guy's going to end up being Pallid Hand. And I think I really like how the weathering turned out just by using the speed paints with some airbrush thinner and flow improver. And I forget the name of it, but he's going to be another one. He's going to be in the slideshow that's happening in the corner. There's a Hellbrute that's got like red trim and bone white armor, so that's going to be him. And the blue one that you see right now with the Plague Burst Crawler, that's going to be the leader. He's going to look like that. So I'm getting there. I'm slowly getting there. And then the last one, there should be a black one with green trim. Again, don't remember the color, but yeah, that one. That's going to be this guy. So I've got a long ways to go, but that's fine because, they're a kill team, so I feel like the kill team should look really, really good. And eventually, if I get tired or bored of doing these guys, I'm just going to go back to doing the Angels of Death kill team that I also have with it. They really did. These sculpts look fantastic, and since they're so specialized, it makes sense that they turned them into a kill team. You know what I mean? It worked really well. And so I'm really happy that we were able to get them, because for a while, for those who don't know, these were like Japan exclusives, and they were part of the Death Guard Heroes line, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but it meant that like the Plague Caster, which is the guy with the staff and the ball of magic in his hand, he was incredibly expensive. And between the two, honestly, I think he's the better looking Plague Caster. The other one that's like blowing some contaminant, he looks kind of goofy. So it was nice that those kill team Death Guard minis are so damn tasty. Such good looking minis. Yeah, thank you. I think so too. I'm hoping that I'm doing them justice with my ridiculous paint schemes. But yeah, having the Plague Caster available to Western audiences as part of a starter kit, really good idea on Games Workshop's part. So I'm excited to eventually paint them all up and make them look amazing, and then get my ass kicked by them when my friends play, if I can get my friends to play Kill Team with me. So once again, I'm just doing little baby highlights. These don't need to cover the same amount of space as the previous layers. They're just kind of there to really accentuate the brightest points on the mini. So yeah, if you see me listing, that's me trying to read chat, because again, my chat window borked on the overlay, so I'm kind of using the preview window to see what people are saying. Okay, and actually, I think he's probably about good for where I want him to be. So this one, I think I'm okay and done with. He's got a plague spewer of some kind. I can never remember the difference. I know there are 3 Death Guard special weapons that throw vomit at people. They have the plague spewer, the plague belcher, and one other one that I don't remember. But yeah, these are great looking minis. I can't wait to start putting in the bronze on these guys, because the rusted, corroded, orangey brown is going to look fantastic against this green. And also, every one of them have like a little nurgling on them, and I think that that's fantastic. So we've got this is the icon bearer, and this guy is I guess a melee fighter with a plague flail, which is also really cool, because once again, he's got a little nurgling on one of the chains instead of a a head, and he's got a little one down here. These are neat minis. I like them a lot. This is the plague caster I was talking about, and you can kind of see this is a really cool looking mini. And for those who don't know, let me find it. The original plague caster, like I said, he's fine. He's not bad, but he's definitely not as good as this guy. Death God. Let me see. Do they still sell Mortarian's Chosen, or have they moved away from that? Oh, nope, there it is. Okay. Like I said, not a bad mini, just not as fun as this guy. Window capture. Yeah, that one. So that's the plague caster that's like available as part of Mortarian's Chosen, and the one that's been primarily available to Western audiences. One of the most annoying things about him is that his cloak in the back is billowing outwards because of, the spell he's casting, which looks great, but it makes him flimsy as sin to try and transport and handle. Meanwhile, this guy, he's got a lot going on there, but it's all kind of contained within the base, so he doesn't have a huge amount of overhang that's getting in the way. Okay. And actually, you know what? Now let's continue working on Plague Spewer guy. Let's give him his trim so we can start seeing all the colors come together. So for the trim, what I'm going to do is mix some brown and some orange and slowly work my way up to like a really bright orangey color. And we're going to start on the feet. Oh, and they've got all these fleshy bits too that are like bursting out of the armor. Again, just a fantastic looking mini all around. Games Workshop, for all of their faults, do make some really good minis when they're trying their best. Okay. Now, one of the biggest problems I have with Pro Acryl, that's mainly a me problem, is that their paints are so fluid and viscous when they first come out that they're almost wet. And that's something to be careful of if you're painting with Pro Acryl, is you want to be careful about the amount of moisture that you're leaving in your brush, because otherwise the paints will kind of bead and become very runny, and that's not what you want when you're did you like the Splatoon 3 vid? I thought it was pretty neat. I've actually never played Splatoon. I have friends who have, but the Switch was never a console that I got really deep into outside of like Animal Crossing. So I don't really know much of it as it happens. But it is fun to see those get posted every now and then, because that game does look super fun. It's just not something I have a whole lot of time for. Okay. And kind of the same concept here. We're going to go to almost like an orange mid-tone, which is going to represent the rust and the corrosion. And then we're going to work our way up to almost a pale white to really show off how bad it's been in terms of the degradation. But yeah, I don't ever want to discourage you from posting the Splatoon stuff, because again, video game highlights are neat. I like seeing people be really good at video game. Okay. And I've also said this a million times, going back to the Paintin real quick, is don't get discouraged if your mini doesn't look as good as you're hoping it's going to. Because, especially painting in general, a lot of projects spend a lot of time in the ugly phase, and it's just because everything isn't quite coming together yet because you haven't got it done yet. So, you know, trust the ugly phase. As long as you keep working on it, eventually the parts will start coming together, and you'll get that aha moment where everything starts working, and then you'll be really happy you didn't overdo it and try and course correct too hard. Because that's a problem I have, is that I panic when it doesn't look good, and then I end up course correcting, and then I end up making it too saturated or too overpainted in one area, and that definitely doesn't look that good. And you end up ruining the work that you started because you were too anxious about it not looking good. So yeah, just trust the ugly phase, because it'll teach you a lot more about what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong once you finish the piece, rather than trying to fix everything while the piece is still in construction, in progress. The ugly phase is your downfall. You get so frustrated. Yeah, me too. I've ruined quite a few minis. Well, I can't say ruined because you can always redo them, but I've definitely diminished the look of a lot of minis because I was too anxious about it not looking how I thought it would. And it took me a long time to kind of get over that and just trust the process. And if I can recommend anyone to watch, Falon Miniatures, who I didn't shamelessly rip him off for this because I've given him plenty of credit, but Falon Miniatures does a great job of showing like the whole process in a way that doesn't just look like magic. Also, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Exactly. And, you know, the famous quote from Adventure Time, being bad at something is the first step to being good at something. So just keep that stuff in mind when you're working. Not everyone started by being brilliant. They all had to start by being bad and learning how to not be bad, right? But Falon Miniatures on YouTube, he does a really good job of breaking down his videos so that you can see the tangible difference between each layer. Because one of the things that I struggled with most on painting tutorials is watching them be like, so, okay, first we're going to do this one color, and they put it on, and it looks really sloppy and really bunched out. And then in the next transition, as they're putting on the next layer, everything is beautiful and stunning and smooth. And all I can think of is like, wait a minute, I didn't see how you got there. It looked really dopey and really scratchy, and now suddenly it looks ultra smooth. What happened? Because it's got to be more than just the drying process. And that's fine and all, because every one of those people are brilliant painters, but it's really discouraging to not see that process happen. And unfortunately, I don't have the patience or time to sit through like a 3-hour video of them painting it up step by step. Which I know, that's more of my bad thing, but for those who don't have that kind of time, that's where it loses me. And Falon Miniatures, somehow, he doesn't seem to have that. He's got like 15-20 minute videos, possibly longer, but you can actually see the transitions in color and in highlights, and that gave me a lot more confidence to just kind of let things stand instead of trying to fix them. Tabletop Minions is really good. If you start being good from the get-go, then that means you had similar skills from something else. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I really learned to like the phrase, it's not a race, because it really is true. The only person, especially with something like mini painting, the only person you're really measuring yourself against is yourself. Because you're the only person that started with the skills that you have. And the experiences you have. So it's not really fair to compare yourself to other painters who had a different life experience than you. And that goes with anything, right? There's a painter named Maverick Paints, and I think they do stunning work. They're really, really good. And I found out that they have an injury that prevented them from doing the job that they originally did, and so they dove really hard into Warhammer painting. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then I found out that they started painting around the same time I did, and all I could think of was, how are they so much better than me? And the answer is because they had a lot more time to work on it, right? And so it's not worth comparing yourself to other people, because their journey is different than yours. So enjoy your journey and have fun learning through it. Because if you're not having fun doing this, then what's the point? At least that's kind of just what I grew from it. You had a slight head start because of doing watercolor. Yeah, exactly. It definitely helps. Like my wife, my partner, QB, Art by QB, also does that because they have an art degree. And so they're very talented when it comes to brush control and color theory and all that stuff. And so every now and then when they sit down and paint with me, all I can do is marvel at what they're able to do with inferior equipment and with inferior paints, just because they know how to, they have more experience with the medium than I do. So they're really good at pulling the best out of it, you know? And that's kind of the funnest part, is getting to see that. Okay, and like I said, all I'm really doing is taking like the brown and the orange that I have and mixing them together to create kind of a golden brown. And that's going to become the base layer from which everything else is going to run from with this. And right now it probably doesn't look like much, especially on the camera, since I know the camera lighting is not phenomenal. But once I start adding highlights, this is really going to come online. And I don't know why I chose this model, because he has so much damn trim and he's got so much stuff that's going to eventually be this color. But trust me, it's going to look great when it's done. I really like the look of like the overly rusted metallic that you can get from this dark brown base. As Bob Ross once said, painting should be fun, and that's when you're truly an artist. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I feel bad for the people I see online who are like, how do people get so good? Why am I so not good at this? Or they compare themselves to the other painters that they see on the social media, and it's just like, stop that. You're not them. And the only way you're going to be better is if you enjoy it, because it's going to make you want to do it more. At least that's how I see it. And I think a lot of people see it that way, which is good. I love that more and more people who are painting are realizing that the fun comes from finishing your shit and looking at it and going, wow, I did that. You know? Okay. I cannot wait. Oh, it's... So, I was looking at brushes today, or yesterday, because I realized that even though I'm getting pretty good details with this brush, its point is basically gone. It doesn't really have a point anymore. And I was like, okay, well, now's a good time to start looking at Rosemary & Co. brushes, because they're supposed to be budget, and they're also Sable, and they're supposedly pretty good for budget. And the last time I went on there, you could find like size 0 and size 1 and size 2 brushes for about $4 to $5. And now I went on there this morning and they're like $8 to $14 a piece. And at that point, I'm not really saving much. Though I think a lot of that has to do with the current economic situation in the United States. So all I can do is roll my eyes and say thanks. Thanks for making it more difficult to get nice things. Darkbolt said, maybe you are good, but just use a different style and the grass is greener on the other side. Yeah, that's another thing. There is no right or wrong way to paint with this stuff, I think. You know, as long as you're not painting hate symbols and whatnot on your minis, or using them to depict real-life atrocities, a la AK Interactive did a couple years ago, then you're pretty much okay. Like, one of the first people that I saw that I really was impressed by their painting was Dana Howell. And it was mainly because Dana Howell has a real painterly style. And when I see her work, it looks like utter chaos when she starts. And I'm like, how are you going to put this together? And then it just slowly starts coming together. And suddenly she just has this beautiful mosaic of colors on her minis. And it's like, oh, I get it. Comparing yourself to other people is a one-way ticket to getting struck in your own head. I'm by no means an amazing painter, but my friend gets really disheartened when we paint together because his don't look as good as yours. His minis end up looking great as well. Yeah, see, that's the thing, is like you just said, everyone's different. So everyone's stuff is going to look different, right? And, like I said, people just need to enjoy what they're doing. We get into this stuff because we think it's going to be cool, so we should do stuff that makes it cool for us. Because once again, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, then enjoy yourself, right? Okay, one moment. I'm hearing a lot of pings, and I'm curious what's going on. Don't compare yourself to others because they've likely been doing this for 25 to 50 years. That is very true as well. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, I've had that moment because, like, I started watching, I think it's Sergio Calvo or Jose Da Vinci. I forget which one, but one of them is just an absolutely amazing painter. And all I can keep thinking is like, man, I hope I can be as good as them one day. And I keep trying to progress and I keep trying to do stuff. And it's just like, they're so unobtainably good, right? And then I found out they've been painting since 2004. And that's when they picked it back up, so they had previous painting experiences. And not only that, but they were a professional painter for Corvus Belli miniatures. And it's just like, oh, that's why you're so good. You have almost 20 years experience on me. And so it's like, it's not fair to compare yourself to that. Now, there's nothing wrong with, like, borrowing technique and learning technique from their videos, but don't be stunned when, you know, you're not immediately as good as they are. Because while they are giving you a ramp to get better and a ladder, you're not going to suddenly be able to do what they do flawlessly. It took them many years to get there. You thought the pings were on your side? I'm sorry, guys. I forgot to mute my phone, and I'm using it as my web camera, so I kind of don't want to take it down right now. But no, that was just QB messaging me about her sub job today, and how good things are going. And you can actually kind of see the orange starting to come online right now, which is really nice. Like I said, this is subtle layering over, or subtle color shifts over many layers. So what's eventually going to happen is this is just going to like explode once we get to a specific lit brightness. And that's what's going to make it look great. Until then, very minor shifts. Now, honestly, this is the part of painting I enjoy. I really like getting into the minutia of these guys. Yay for the new job going well. Oh yeah. It's, I don't remember when I mentioned about it. Oh yeah. So for QB, she's doing this just kind of as a way to make some money until the tattoo thing starts working out for her, because she's training right now, but she's also making stupid fast progress, which I think is freaking amazing. Because from what I understand, in our state, you need like over 1,000 hours of experience before they're supposed to let you start tattooing. And apparently when she came in and started getting to work on the tattoo machine and whatnot, the needle, the owner of the business told her that she's doing things that there are people who have been training for 6 months to a year, that's in multiple years, who they still can't do them as well as she can. So because of her previous art experience, she kind of has a leg up on other people who are training. So they're not fast tracking her, but they basically told her that as soon as these other two apprentices get their licenses, then she's going to be bumped up to a position where she can start making money as well. So yeah, we're really excited about that because it's something that she enjoys doing, and it allows her to express herself. You know, all the fun things about being an artist that you hope to have as an artist. And once again, just to kind of get back on the painting stuff, you can kind of see right now I'm going to more of an orange, but I'm painting less and less. And again, the idea is that by doing so, it's really going to bring the eyes to focus on the parts that are actually orange and actually starting to corrode versus some of the deeper shadows, which are just there to provide the contrast. Because if it was all just a single bright orange, then it would look like a single bright orange. It wouldn't look like something that slowly decayed and rotted away. Now, I will say, I'm pretty excited to eventually move away from Vallejo's bright orange because it's such a watery mess that I really don't like using it. And at some point, I'm going to go all the way over to Pro Acryl, and hopefully doing that will make some of my coloring a whole lot better. Because right now, I feel like, especially with oranges and yellows, it tends to look kind of watery and not good. And if I put it on any thicker than that, then it gets really chunky and not good. So hopefully that will all change once I'm able to buy more of the Pro Acryl paint line. Okay. So yeah, one of the best things about this also is that since you're doing decreasing quantities of paint with every layer, it really starts showing up. You're really enjoying the two thin coats paints at the minute. That's my understanding, is that they're fantastic. My biggest thing though is I don't want to claim like brand loyalty or whatever, but I like knowing how the paint is going to behave, and so I'm trying to stick with one brand at a time. Because for a while I was with Citadel, and because I was new, and then I moved over to Army Painter for a minute, back when they only had their War Painter line, which was a mistake. But then I started hearing really good about Vallejo, and they were right. Vallejo's fantastic. But to be honest, I got kind of tired of them since I bought almost a full line, and it's like, okay, I understand how Vallejo works. Is there another paint I can use? And I read that Pro Acryl's Bold Titanium White is kind of like the standard for white, and it's the one that you should keep if you're going to have any white. So I bought some of that, and I was running low on like a dark red as well, so I bought their dark Purell Red and used both of those. And as soon as I used the red, I kind of fell in love with it, because their dark Purell Red, or Bold Purell Red, or whatever it's called, is extremely red. It's red in the way that when you think of red, you think of this as your red in your brain. And I was like, okay, Pro Acryl has won me over, so I think I'm going to continue expanding my Pro Acryl line until I get bored of it and want to do something else. And I have been, and so far it's been wildly successful, because like the deep emerald green that you're getting out of this, that's the Pro Acryl line. That's their green. And I switched to using their ivory as well, and their brown and black, and every one of them have turned out really good. So I especially since they're at a store close to where I live, I'm eventually going to move over entirely to their line, which makes me incredibly happy. Okay. Yeah, I think QB forgot that I was streaming this morning, because they are continuing to try and tell me about the funny shenanigans that are happening at their job. And it's like, no, dear, I'm streaming. I'm sorry. Okay. And yeah, you can kind of see the contrast between that shoulder and that shoulder. And so now that we're going to start getting some brighter orange highlights on this shoulder, it should start coming to life a little more. And then once I get like the orangiest of oranges, you're going to get to see how much better this is all going to look once the brightest layers get put on it. Now, I will say the one thing that gets me is like the little scallops
in here, in between the studs. And it's like, I still don't really know how to paint those. So all I've really seen is they just kind of scribble in some highlight in there or some low light. And so that's kind of what I'm doing, just to give it something. Because otherwise, I'm still kind of lost on it. I need to watch more videos and see more pictures of what this looks like under some natural lighting. Because I think I'm going the opposite way, and these shouldn't have highlight in between them. They should have like a shadow. Okay. Okay, yeah, you can see some of the orange already starting to pop more on it. And since I'm done with all that, I can move into like actual orange now. Let's see how this is going to look. That's what I want. Embrace the corrosion. And I also love all the little buggy bits on these guys. That's something that I think that they kind of held back on with the actual Plague Marine kit. So seeing like how incredibly maggot infested and insect infested these guys are is fan-freaking-tastic. I'm really enjoying how many more Greeblies are on them, because they were meant to be like commemorative pieces that have a whole lot more personality than the regular Plague Marine kit, which I also think is very good. And actually, I'm pretty excited to get the new box and its Plague Marine kit, specifically because I assembled my original Plague Marines to all be specialists with different weapons, because I thought it would look better. So I'm excited to get one that I can just turn into nothing but like Plague Bolters. In addition to the conversation about not comparing yourself here to others, check Discord. Will in a second. Let me finish highlighting this guy's leggy, and then I will go ahead and check the Discord. Okay, I actually think... And there we go. A leg. Let's look at the Discord. Let's see what we got in the Discord. Okay, there's that call. And into conversation, progressing my first mini in comparison to 5 years later. Yeah, that's always fun, and that's something I've been pretty bad about, actually, is I paint over a lot of my minis because I want them to look better. So there we go. There's mini number 1, I believe, on the left, and your most current mini, because I've seen you do progress of it, on the right. I love your vibrant color choices. They really scream an identity, you know what I mean? They really scream like, this is how I paint. And especially with like pink, I want to learn how to get a more vibrant pink, because I have these Noise Marines, and I think they turned out okay. Like, I'm not done with them, but I think they are appropriately loud and obnoxious, but I want them to be louder, and I don't think I was able to quite reach that. So like, these are the Noise Marines I do have, and I used a fluorescent pink on them, but I'm not quite jazzed with how they look. I think this was the first one I did, and I feel like I could have done better, and there's things that I could fix on him. So I might completely start over with this guy, but at the same time, I think that this one turned out pretty good. And again, there's stuff on here that I think I could do better, but I'm much happier with how this one looks. So I might start completely over with this guy and redo him to be more like this. And I'm not done with him yet. You can see that I haven't done the tabard on him, and there's some trim and whatnot that I could definitely work on. But yeah, I like the Noise Marines. I'm pretty happy actually with how some of those metallics turned out. They've kind of fallen to the wayside as I've continued to work on other projects, because I've just been busy trying to make more money. Because something that I need in further abundance is money. As much as I love my new job, it's still not quite paying the bills. But I can't leave it for something else, because it will eventually promote to the point where it's going to be paying the bills and then some. Okay. So, whoops, I think this leggy done. You still want to try doing a nice pink with the paints I got, and now that you got your Emperor's Children model of the month, you have no excuse not to. Exactly. that's something else I like about the Emperor's Children models in particular, is they encourage you to go ham, and I think that's super important. Like, there's nothing reserved about an Emperor's Children model, and while I suppose you can if you want to, it's more fun if you go completely balls to the wall with the model and the color scheme you want to use for that model. What time is it? 9:04. Okay, I've got about an hour left on stream because I've got to go donate some plasma a little later today, and then I am treating myself to some awful food for my birthday. And then after I do all that and do a couple little chores around the house, I'm going to come back and stream some Yakuza. Before that, I was thinking maybe building up a Horus Heresy Marine and do color on that one. That's going to be a plan. Especially because I have the 3D printable ones that I found, the proxies. I'm definitely going to start printing more of those and trying to play with color and experiment with that a little more. I'm still gun shy about starting up the printer because I've got to do some troubleshooting on like print settings. So I just haven't had the time, and every time I do have the time, I kind of get in my own head of like, man, do I really want to do this right now? Do I really have the time to sit here and readjust and clean and fiddle and finagle with it? So at some point I'll get motivated enough because I've got stuff that needs to be printed. I've got some bits on a Biologist Putrefier that need to be printed out. I've got some legs. I've had this poor man, this poor Space Marine has not had legs for a long time now. So I need to print him some legs and let him be part of my intercessor squad. And I also need to print out some Krieg veterans so I can have the full complement for soft servo. I based in black initially, then Mephiston, then highlighted up with Sunset Red by Vallejo. Yeah, and that's a good combination of stuff. That's something else that I learned is you can never go from black to a highlight. It's very difficult. You're definitely going to want to work your way up there across multiple layers because that's what's really going to let your colors sing. But that was a tough lesson. The first Space Marines I painted were Imperial Fists on a black base coat. And that was stupid. Either he needs legs or a casualty base with broken legs to put the body on. Yeah, I could do that, but I like how he looks, and I want him to be part of the team. I guess he could still be part of the team without legs. He's just gonna have a penalty to movement or something. I had a whole bunch of leftover Deathwatch bits, and I was like, I like these Deathwatch bits. I'm gonna use them instead to make some intercessors, so I can have like, I think 15 or 20 intercessors total. And so far, he's the only one in that squad that didn't finish because the legs failed during the print. And I ran out of resin, so I haven't really had a chance to print more for him. And once I started getting resin again, I ran into the problem of too many print failures and me just getting gun shy about wasting resin because I just haven't had the money to buy more since then. Yellow is obnoxious to work with, especially. Yeah, yellow was bad. Averland Sunset was surprisingly okay because of how, I guess, dense the pigment is, but it was still not fun. And my buddy who got me into the hobby, he was stunned that I was able to get a solid yellow off of that. But it's just because Averland Sunset's a good yellow. But yeah, I have a set of intercessors that are using Deathwatch weapons just because that was the extra bits I had available. And I wanted to have some unique intercessors. Like, they still use the same loadouts and whatnot that a standard intercessor crew has. They just look more fun. What's the point? And you can see I'm spending less time on each part because I really don't need to. You enjoy using the Imperial Fist contrast paint. I didn't like it at first, but now that I understand how to use it, I'm kind of in love with it because it's a really, really good yellow. And I'm glad that the fist got something nice because, you know, being the Imperial Fist, that's generally not allowed. Which actually, speaking of, after seeing the new Space Wolf, minis and the new Space Wolf model line, I'm so excited to see the reimaginings, the resculpts of the other like Codex compliant chapter characters that are going to be coming out, because it's basically the worst kept secret that we're getting a new Vulcan Histan, we're getting a new Captain Lysander, you know, so I'm excited to see what these guys are all going to look like when in their new sculpts, and I'm hoping they're good. And from what I understand, there's going to be new generic assault terminators to come along with Captain Lysander. So while I do have my own kit-bashed Captain Lysander and my own kit-bashed assault terminators, it's going to be nice to finally have some official GW plastic ones. That, and even more so if you undercoat a yellow with a pink. That looks really good. I really like the look of yellow with a pink undercoat. What I've learned is, especially with the airbrush, I've had to go like black, then white, then pink, then white, then yellow. I have to do a lot of steps to get a really good undercoat on like a strong yellow base coat. But it always ends up looking really friggin' good, so I'm never too mad about it. Okay, there's actually one more step that needs to happen with this orange, because right now I'm just doing the straight orange on top of the layers, and as you can see, looking pretty good. But the next step for this is going to be orange with like a yellow mix into it, so I can do like the actual highlights. But once again, because it's so bright, it doesn't need to be it doesn't need to have anywhere near the coverage, because at that point you're just really trying to focus the eyes on certain parts of the pauldron. And that's the case. I gotta go and need to order some more Assault Terminator boxes before they disappear. Yeah, I would, if you have the funds to do so, because that's my understanding, is that at least Volrak has been saying it for months now, and as goofy as the guy is, he tends to be right more often than not. So I'm pretty excited. What I'm kind of hoping they don't do is I hope they don't resculpt the Primaris ones we already have, because like we don't need another Torgarodon. We need another Captain Lysander. You know what I mean? We don't need another Agrax Agatone. We need Adrax Agatone, my mistake. We need a Vulcan Histan. So that's my hope, is that we are going to get to see these new minis, and they are going to look fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, hopefully now you guys can really see how this rust highlight is really starting to pop on this mini, and how this orange and green is just really working together. So let's go ahead and mix some of the yellow in there and brighten this up. And I could go higher and brighter, but that's really not going to be the point. I've got quite a bit in here. And again, I'm using Averland Sunset just because it's a nice golden yellow, and it's not so washed out that it's hard to work with. So in this case, I'm not actually going to be doing a whole lot. It's going to be very minor little bits of like, here is the peak where the light is hitting it the hardest. And that's kind of where these highlights are going to end. So I don't even need that much. And that's kind of the fun part of this, is that once you get to this point, you're really just accentuating stuff and trying to really make it sing and pop for the mini. And I hope to you that none of this looks super intentional, because it's not. I'm just kind of dabbing the brush where I think it's going to look good. But I don't have a super controlled, like, this is exactly where dot needs to go. This is exactly where brush stroke needs to go. It's just kind of landing where it is, and I'm rolling with it. You know what I mean? So far, they've not remodeled any Primaris characters yet. That is true, I think. I'm pretty much like trusting you on this, because I don't remember. And I think you're right. I think they've only Primarisized firstborn characters, which I'm actually okay with. I know that narratively it kind of makes the risk of becoming Primaris and crossing the Rubicon a whole lot less risky, which they kind of retconned into the 8th edition Gilliman books, because they mentioned that it's becoming less and less dangerous as they understand the process more and more. But to be completely honest, I like it better when things are dangerous and things are scary. So it would have been really neat for a major character, well, a mildly major character, to try and cross the Rubicon and fail. And I know that would mean less toy sales or whatever, but narratively it would keep with that grimdark. Because so far we haven't heard of anyone failing crossing the Rubicon, as far as I know. And I mean, it's Games Workshop's prerogative. They can do what they want with the story. They can do what they want with the lore. If we're doing chapter-specific codexes, they might do white scars for their fast attack vehicles. My understanding, at least according, again, to Chapter Master Volrak, is that's going to be a major focus in 11th edition. 11th edition is where they're going to start focusing more on the vehicles for the Marines. And that's fine and all. I don't think they're doing chapter-specific codexes because there's more than enough already for the Space Marines. I think it's just that as they're releasing the second version of the codex for the Space Marines, they're doing so while reintroducing and revealing resculpts of older characters. At least that's my understanding. Make that character fail so another character takes his place. That happens plenty in the story. Our current important characters were successors to other important ones. Didn't really know that. I don't know enough about the lore beyond 8th edition, but it feels like, you know, Belial and Dante and you know, Captain Lysander and whatnot, they've all been there for forever. But again, I don't know. So again, I'm trusting you on that, because you've been in the hobby far longer than I have. It might just be that once they hit those characters and the game grew enough, they realized they can't just keep replacing them, because the fans who have entered the hobby and become familiar with them are like, no, I like these characters too much. But yeah, I just figure that as the hobby has grown, the ability to do incredibly dynamic things has started to fall off because the company itself has just become more risk averse. Which makes sense, because they have to, as much as I hate saying it, they have to appeal to a wider swath of people, because a wider swath of people are now enjoying the hobby. And I don't necessarily think that's a great excuse to not take risks, but I can understand that, especially as they hire more people to work on the hobby, and as they hire more people to work on the IP, they've got to start taking into account that these people can lose their jobs if they do something too wild and crazy. But that's me. Belial became the Deathwing Grandmaster during 3rd edition. In my 4th edition codex, he was mentioned but hadn't made a model yet. Yeah, and unfortunately, how many years ago was that, right? And I know that up until very recently, it was more a setting than it was a story. But honestly, that is why I kind of wish they didn't make character models. Or if they did, they were only usable in Legends games and in pickup games. Because I feel like focusing the game down into specific characters that weren't created by the fans makes the game feel smaller. And I think we've talked about this plenty before, but it feels weird seeing Rabute Gilliman in like every little engagement. You know what I mean? He was the first model after GW stopped using metal, so he was all fine cast until recently. Yeah, that is true. And so that's... I understand that it's cool to be able to play with Gilliman and do that kind of stuff, but I feel like... I don't know. I'm in a weird place where it's like, okay, then I can just not use Gilliman, and I can just not use Torgaradon. But I don't know. I'm still in a weird place about it, because up until they started introducing characters, it was about creating your own generals and captains and your own characters and giving them stories. And I'm not saying you can't still do that, right? Like, that's still very possible.
And it's just a matter of, you know, having the wherewithal and just kind of the mental capacity to be like, okay, well, I'm going to use my character, and he's going to be named Sir Butts, and he's going to be really good, and, you know, he was critically wounded in this one battle, and he was interred into a, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that narrative part is the thing that really fascinates me most about Warhammer. And so I think it just means I need to stop playing competitive games. You know what I mean? Because that's where people are kind of strongly encouraged to use the best models. So that's where you start seeing you have to have Gilliman in your Ultramarines list. You have to have Calgar in your Ultramarines list. And once again, I get it, but it's just kind of like, what if I don't want to play against Calgar? What if I don't want to play against Gilliman? He doesn't need to be in every engagement. But again, it's kind of the dilemma that you face whenever you get into a hobby, right? There's going to be people playing it differently than you, and the best you can do is enjoy the parts of it that you can enjoy. Because it feels wrong to try and tell them that the way they're enjoying the game is wrong. It feels very self-centered. The Dark Vengeance box, the generic captain was a named character and captain for the 5th Company, but now he died, and we've got Lazarus at the top of the 5th. Interesting. Isn't it kind of like how Space Marine 1 introduced Titus as captain of 2nd Company? And I don't know if that was ever treated as canon until recently, when they mentioned that after Space Marine 1, he was kind of lost to the void because of the events of Space Marine 1. In as far as the Ultramarines' eyes were concerned. And that's why Ventress, is it Ventress or Sicarius? I don't remember. I'm not an Ultramarines player. But why there's a different captain for 2nd Company is because Titus was kind of persona non grata and whatnot. Okay. And now that he has all of this highlighting on him, you can definitely see why it was a good idea to do all that highlighting, because he is now Captain of the 2nd. Cool. Because he is now exceptionally popping off, and he looks fantastic. I have no idea what color I'm going to make his gun, but yeah, this guy looks good. I'm really happy with how this turned out. The current 7th Captain is oh yeah, it's the, oh my god, what's his name? Maybe I'm thinking of 1st Company. I don't remember. Either way, I know who you're talking about because he's in Space Marine 2. Acheron? That's his name. Speaking of, that's something else I want to do more of that I just haven't had time to do. I want to play more Space Marine 2. They apparently are very encouraging of the modding community, and that just makes me happy, because any company that's like, yeah, modders, we want to help you do cool stuff. That's just super neato, and it sounds like you want to see more Space Marine 2? I'll try and play it more. I've got friends who have it, so I'm going to try and play more of it at some point. On days where I just don't have the energy to paint, that might become the backdrop of like, okay, no paint energy, Space Marine 2 time. I might play through the campaign again. I might play more of the modes. I do know for a fact it's one of the few games where I really enjoyed the PvP, because I'm generally dog water at PvP and I don't enjoy it. But Space Marine 2's PvP is very good. But yeah, the modding community has gone wild. They've added Terminator armor, and it's still kind of in beta, and they're still working out the kinks and the bugs. But you can straight up play in Terminator armor with a Stormbolter and a Power Fist. And they want to add other things like the Gatling cannon and all the other stuff. So they are really trying to go ham with that, and I couldn't be more excited for them, because mods to that game are really cool. They've also added, they're trying to add Twin Lightning Claws. They've added the Apothecary as a class. They've added the Chaplain as a class. They've been doing a lot with Space Marine 2, and it doesn't look like a fan mod. if you know what I mean. It looks like they somehow found the source code and went ahead and just added that shit in because they had the power. And like I said, Saber is helping them. Saber is like full on cooperating with them, being like, yeah, here's how you do things. In fact, one moment. I don't like showing other people's stuff on stream. Wait a minute. What do we got here? What do we got here? Oh, okay. Someone else is posting their schedule. That's fine. Boo. But yeah, something else crazy about Space Marine 2. You know how PvP is a lobby of 12 people? They somehow just like took that lobby and moved it over to PvE, so you can actually play a severely unbalanced version of it, where you're playing as with 11 friends in Space Marine 2's PvE online. Let me see. No. Wait. Yep, there it is. Okay, so, you guys have got to see this. It looks absolutely wild. Window capture. There we go. So first of all, look at that. They got a fucking Terminator in there. How cool is that? It's a Terminator. Look at this dude. He's a fucking Terminator. Sorry, I'm excited about Terminators. I don't know how well that's coming through. It's not.
What was that? Looks like a neurothrope placed on Overwatch inside that building.
I mean, look at that. You can be a freaking Terminator. It's a Terminator. Oh my god, he looks so good. And look at the
Oh, yeah. It's all coming together.
the textures look awesome
I don't
on
know
it.
what you guys have been
And there's the
following
the chaplain.
over the last several months, but the community's been very busy. And while this video is only going to scratch the surface of what modders can and already have done, what they'll no doubt do in the future, it should leave you with a warm, fuzzy feeling if you care at all.
Yeah, it
about
looks
this series
freaking
and its
awesome.
future.
And look at this. It's a
Make
full-on
things
mod.
more, quote-unquote lore accurate. Now, lore accuracy means many different things to many.
I mean, look at this guy. He's got a fucking Terminator.
Mod is
It's
run
got a
by Killer
Stormbolter.
Whaley of Warhammer
No, it's not
Workshop
really a
fame.
Stormbolter,
He's
but it's
gathered
close
a very
enough.
talented team to his side, and to give you a general idea of the
Yeah,
experience we're working with here,
let's
he was a
go.
developer on Sea of
Terminator,
Thieves,
baby.
Sniper Elite 5, and is currently one of the lead devs on
Hey, look at this guy.
Lumbering Brutes and Tactical Dreadnought
Look at
armor,
this. And
carving their
the
way
weight
through
of the
Heretic and
movement
Xenos
looks
Force
so
Away.
good. And check this out. You
have
can even
access to
play as
Chaos
Chaos
full
Operations.
customization, mix and matching with founding Heretic Legions, a massive suite of kit bashing opportunities to fully differentiate each and every Space Marine you create, and 2 new classes.
Looks so
the
good.
Apothecary and the Chaplain.
Look at this. Look at this.
Over to the
Yes!
Loyalist side
Rip his head
as
off.
well.
Oh my god. It looks so good. And like it's not and look oh wait, yeah. Check this out.
But wait, there's more. You have access to a huge amount of customization options and improvements compared to the base game, with hundreds more armor variants, colors, cloaks, and various accoutrements, which means not only can you bring the Heretic Astartes over from Eternal War for Chaos Ops, but you can mix and match all those assets to your heart's content. So, Black Legion
This is just
Astartes
in the
with
game.
Contagion
This is just
and
modded
some
into the
Vertical
game.
Pitched armor, or a World
It
Eater
looks so
Berserker Raptor
good.
flying high with a Melton Chainsword, are all very much in the realm of
I could be a
possibility.
furry.
If you want to get really fancy, the mod now has functionality for up to 12 players in the same operations lobby at once. So if you
Good
have a
morning,
huge friend group
Sindarius. I'm
that was
freaking
turned
out
on
about
for free
the
player
new
cap,
Space Marine 2
this is
mods that
certainly
let you
one
do
of those
basically
ways around
everything.
that. And while 12 players, probably way too much for my personal taste, a group of, say, 4 or 5 friends, all
They
arrayed
added
in
Terminator
Night
armor
Lord
and 2 new
Alpha Legion
classes
gear,
and new
playing with an
weapons
extra
and
horde
the ability to
modifier up
use
that
Heretic
difficulty
Astartes
would
armor
make
for
a really
customizing.
awesome time. Let's talk about the new classes, the Apothecary and Chaplain.
But yeah, it just looks
And
so
for
good.
me,
Oh yeah, it's an
Chaplain is
apothecary.
the
Yeah, look
coolest
at
addition
that.
on this update. Apothecary is fun and very OP in its current form.
But you
Has
gotta
an
see this. Check
awesome
this out.
model
Check this
and
out. Check this
servo
out. Check this out. Look at this. They put freaking Terminator armor in the game. And this is just mods. Which means that Terminator armor was in the game somewhere. Oh, I'm so excited for this. Okay, I think that's enough of that. Thank you guys for watching that. I'm very excited. Okay, that goes off. That goes back on. Window capture can go off. Music can go back on. Yeah, I'm so excited for that. So sorry about that, but what I've been doing, what I have been working on, what I've been trying to work on, is my Plague Marines for my kill team. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I'm doing currently.
but I got on the subject of Space Marine 2 and I kind of lost it for a second. So right now, I'm just trying to get a little bit of highlighting done on these guys. Because actually, if you want to see a contrast between where this guy is, this is where I kind of want them to be. And eventually I'll go back and I'll do the bones and the fleshy bits and the equipment. But this is where I'm eventually going to get with my Chaos Marines, or with my Death Guard combat, or not combat patrol, kill team. Uh-oh. About to say, I freaked out so hard that the video signal was lost for a second. So yeah, at some point I'll play more Space Marine 2. I know for a fact they're adding a Horde mode, which seems like it can be absolutely wild with 12 players modded in. So yeah, I'm very excited, and I can't wait to get to that. And I'm just hoping that I can eventually get my friends back online to play with me. Because right now I've got 4 friends who all have Space Marine 2 and who all can play it. And we were pretty crestfallen. Well, 3 friends. We were pretty crestfallen when we saw that Space Marine 2 was only going to be a 3-player PvE. But seeing that they found not really a workaround, but, you know, a workaround around that is just like, hell yeah. Though I understand their logic, because I remember Saber Interactive saying when they first started, like, releasing the game, that they couldn't find a way to balance it so that 4 players, a squad of 4 Marines, could go in, because Marines are just too good. They're just overpoweringly good because of, you know, having to work for the player character to go ahead and do something like that. So yeah, I'm excited. Finally got a morning shift again. Well, that's good. So that means you're going to get to have somewhat more normal sleep times and whatnot, which is always a good thing. Because no matter how much you do night shift, you can never truly adjust to night shift. At least that's kind of my understanding. Okay. I'm only going to be online for another 30 minutes at the most, because I do need to get going at some point. I'm donating plasma again today, because money. But then I am going to go get something to eat for lunch. And then after that, I'm going to come back and I'm going to stream some Yakuza. At least that's the plan. Because I'm really stuck in on Yakuza. I'm trying my best not to, like, just talk about it here. But I'm really enjoying playing through Like a Dragon. And yeah, especially since I took today off, partially to recover from yesterday, and partially because it's my birthday. I really want to play more Yakuza. I really want to progress the story. I actually got my coworker. Do you wish it was that way? Yeah. What you call it? I got my coworker who was into the Yakuza games back when they were still on, like, the PlayStation 2. He also loves JRPGs, so when he saw that Like a Dragon was essentially a Yakuza JRPG, he immediately bought the game during the Golden Week sale, and is now playing it. And even though he's been playing it for a substantially less amount of time than I have, he's already... Oh, thank you. Thank you for the birthdays. It is my birthday. He's already further than I am. And I think that's kind of funny, but it is because I've been holding off on playing the main plot, except for when I'm streaming. So, I gotta get back on that. Though it does also mean that my characters are ridiculously overleveled. And that may or may not be a good thing, because it has made some of the story-related plot, or, like, fights a whole lot easier. Okay, yeah, good, I'm still on screen. And yeah, it's my birthday. I turned 38 today, which honestly, I'm not too worried about, because I don't feel like I'm 38. Like, I do know I'm getting older, and in a lot of ways my body is starting to do that thing where it's like, hey, you know all that stuff that you were like, I'll deal with it later? Well, it's later. So even though I am going out to eat for lunch, I'm not going crazy and buying like a 20-pound burrito or anything, which is something I would have done 5 years ago. I'm just kind of rewarding myself because I've been trying to keep a relatively strict diet for the past few weeks to help with my my cholesterol and my blood pressure and all that other stuff. And I'm supposedly doing okay. Thank you, Isidore. Happy birthday. It's my birthday. I can say happy birthday to whoever I want, so happy birthday. My partner woke up after I did, after I was out of the shower, and she said happy birthday. And I said happy birthday back, and she was like, but it's not my birthday. And that's what I told her. I was like, well, it's my birthday, and I'll say happy birthday to who I want. But yeah, right now, just kind of working on this. I'm going to go back to streaming Yakuza later on this afternoon. But yeah, just trying to get this guy up to, like, birthday rights, exactly. I'm just trying to it's going to take me a little while longer than I anticipated to get these guys up to tabletop ready for playing Kill Team. But based on how things are going, they're all going to look freaking stunning. And that's something that I love about doing, like, really good paint jobs, is that when you finish with them, you can just kind of sit back and look at them and go, God damn, am I good at this? And honestly, that's kind of what happens with these Plague Marines and with this Death Guard, because I've done this so much now that I have gotten pretty good at this style. And like I said, I'm really excited. It's my birthday. I make the rules. Exactly. Well, who's going to tell me not to? Is they're going to be like, it's not their birthday, you can't say that. And I'm going to be like, well, it's my birthday, I could say what I want. Who's going to tell me no on my birthday? But yeah, I've already kind of shown him, but, like, I'm working on getting him highlighted so that I can eventually get him to look like this, because I finished this guy a little bit earlier, and I'm going to try and get, it looks like I have 3 of them to this degree of like detail. And then you can see in the lower left corner some art inspiration, some art guidance for some other chapters, some other legions that I'm going to be mimicking, some other war bands. And those are going to be my last 4 Kill Team dudes for the Death Guard. So that way, every time I play Kill Team, I just have a freaking cool looking set of Plague Marines to mess with. Okay, I need a little bit, just a little bit here. Nothing too scratchy is good in this case. And so this is probably going to take me a couple weeks because I'm eventually going to get more commission work in, which means these are all going to get pushed to the side again. But that's okay. I needed this as kind of a palate cleanser, which is weird to say for Death Guard. Who would have thought that working on Death Guard is a palate cleanser? But yeah, I'm working on these guys because I've been working on Marvel Crisis Protocol for so long. I don't want to say I'm burnt out on it because I'm not, but it's just like that one style of painting for the past 2 months has started to wear on me a bit. And so while I know I'm going to get more soon and I'm excited to do it, being able to kind of shift styles a little bit and work on something else has been very pleasant, been very refreshing and inspiring to help me get remotivated to painting again. Because I definitely had a few moments working on the MCP guys where I'm like, man, do I enjoy this anymore? Am I having fun with this? And like when they're done, it's like, okay, yeah, I had fun with it. But while I was working on it, it was like, man, I'm not having fun with this. Just like the Skaven, it's great practice. Yeah, I'm going to go back to Skaven eventually. I've still got some Skaven to do. I still need to finish. Actually, I never finished the giant warp blaster. It's like, it's been sitting at about halfway done for a little while. But once I finish that, that'll basically be all of the Skaven I need to work on, except for the clan rats. But I'll get there eventually. So, let's see. Next, because I think I've got his highlights up where they need to be, I think next for him is going to have to start being the trim. And I guess I'll work on that for about 20 minutes or so. Oh shit, I just realized I'm not going to be able to raid anybody. That sucks. Wait, no, I think I know how I can do this. Let me see. What can I do here? Give me a second. I know what I can do. Get out of that, get out of that, get out of that. I'm not raiding now. I promise. I'm just trying to figure something out. Creator dashboard. Manage stream.
Mute the stream. Okay, good. Everything's working. This looks like garbage because I've never used this before. But I now have access to chat again, and that means I'll be able to raid, which is fantastic. Okay, yeah, you've got some more Kriegers to paint, and
I can definitely get that. I'm gonna have some Kriegers to paint too, so I'm excited to see how that goes. I think I told you or mentioned that one of my buddies, who he's had a Krieg kill team for a while, but he's never had a chance to paint them just because, you know, he's busy, and he knows I've been chomping at the bit to paint them, so he just went ahead and gave them to me to paint, and I'm giving them back obviously, but he's just like, you know, paint them to look like Krieg. So I've got quite a bit of leeway on that project, but I'm excited to do so. And I think I'm pretty much going to use yours as, like, art reference, because you did such a darn good job on them. And I don't know if I'm going to try and mimic your style to a T, but I am definitely going to use it as a baseline of, like, how to paint the lads. Are these... Those are fangs. Those aren't studs. Okay. And I guess I'm just thankful that I'm not doing my entire army up like Kriegers, because there's nothing wrong with that, but I can see how it can get monotonous, because I do want to do not an Astra Militarum, I hate saying that, an Imperial Guard army at some point, but I think I'm going to end up doing them more like a generic planetary defense force, because I feel like making them as anonymous and, you know, fed to the grinder as possible is going to be more interesting from my end. And so actually, Station Forge, being the absolute blessed souls that they are, they just released a new line called the Free Guard, I believe, and they look like Cadians if Cadians had the serial numbers rubbed off and were made even more generic. So I'm probably going to use them as a base, which means that the planetary defense force that I printed from one-page rules aren't going to get used for anything, which is fine. I like the planetary defense force from one-page rules, but I feel like they're very Starship Troopers inspired, and it wasn't quite the vibe I was going for. Like, they look like a combination of Halos, Halo soldiers, and Starship Troopers. And it's like, that's cool and all, but I think I want to do something different. So, I don't know what I'm going to do with those guys. I might continue painting them and store them away and put them on display or something, but I don't think I want to make a whole-ass army out of them. They look too clean. You know what I mean? Their tanks and whatnot are awesome, but they look like sci-fi fantasy tanks, and I don't want to go that route with it. You're trying pure Krieg, but list building tells me you need Cadian minis. You think you'll proxy? Yeah, we were talking about that. Depending on the ones you need, Isidore, I do have Station Forge. I almost have the entire line for Station Forge, and since they call them the Grim Guard. They're basically Krieg-based minis for like all of the equipment. And they kept it close enough that I'm pretty sure they'd pass. So if you want to, like, DM me a list of the units and models and vehicles you need, I can DM you what they look like from Station Forge, and you can tell me whether or not that's going to be good enough. If that does end up happening, I could probably print them and ship them to you. The biggest issue is just going to be that I don't have the money for the resin right now. Though in that case, it would probably legitimately be cheaper for you to buy me the resin and just pay for the shipping and whatnot, because I'm not going to charge you for the actual cost of printing. But yeah, that's something we can talk about later. We don't have to talk business during stream. Okay, and kind of doing the same thing here that I did on the other guy. It's just hitting it with like an orangey brown base coat to act as like the shade, and then working my way up to a more bright pure orange as I continue working on him. And again, this guy has, I think it's Mark, I want to say it's Mark III armor since it's got the smooth plates up front. But he's got all these studs everywhere and all these spikes because he's been all chaosified. So this is definitely providing, I don't want to say a challenge, but a different set of skills than, say, painting a standard Space Marine. Okay. So kind of the same thing here. All I'm really doing is, again, orangey brown base coat to work as the shadow, and then working my way up into a much more vibrant orange to act as the rusty color. Speaking of 3D printing, you gave your roommate 120 plus heads you printed last night. I bet they were excited about that because resin printing has gotten so good that you can legitimately just use 3D printed heads on a lot of these models. It's one of my favorite things to do. I like how it gives the minis a more unique flair. Okay, this is obviously not orange enough, that's fine. And actually, for the bits on the back, I don't need the precision, so I'm going to switch over to a much shittier brush. Okay. I just need coverage. This will eventually dull down, which will be fine, but I just need coverage. There we go. Okay. Okay, and there we go. And see, this is me kind of losing my patience and wanting to get further with these models. God, he's got a lot of spikes on him. Holy shit. Very cool. I didn't really need to be precise with those wings, so I switched over to a much more beaten up, much more effed up brush. This is an old Citadel base brush that I have abused, and so now it's got like a curved tip, and it can't really hold a point anymore. But for some of the less fine work that I need to do, it definitely does wonders and works perfectly okay. And so that's one thing, and most of you probably are already really aware of this. Don't get married to one brush that you use for everything, because you're going to destroy that brush a whole lot quicker. It's always good to have a couple of utility brushes just kind of hanging out that you can use for much sloppier or more damaging to the brush paint schemes and paint jobs. Okay, oh yeah, I didn't actually get his foot. And I think I might have hecked up on this one because I wasn't sure what to do, but for the back heels, I'm pretty sure these are supposed to be brown and copper, kind of like the rest of it. So we're going to go over it with this brown, and then once it dries, kind of hit it with the orangey brown. And that way it'll match up with the other minis. Okay, and honestly, this part doesn't need a whole lot of finesse either, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit it over with the slightly more, actually no, that's still very brown. Let's hit it with some more orange. Gonna go ahead and hit this with that slightly more orangey color, and given that this thing is curved, if you can see, I'm gonna go ahead and use the back of it so I'm not accidentally hooking into other parts. Something else, and this is kind of fighting against yourself, but honestly, something I enjoy about using inferior product is that you've got to learn to work around it. And so, because you have to adjust, it does kind of teach you how to better control the tool. And I'm not going to recommend this to everyone because it can be wildly counterproductive, but I like working with bad tools. Because it's like, okay, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do this high detail, high efficiency, or high level, skill level thing, but I've got a shitty tool that won't let me do that. So I've got to learn how to do that with the shitty tool. And once you can do that, once you get the regular tool, and everything is so much easier, it's just like, wow, I know how to do this with a bad tool, so now I've gotten better at doing this with a good tool. And I don't always recommend that. I learned that way. I learned how to cut things with a kitchen knife that way, because I had really shitty cut knives, And I will say now that it did make me better with my knife work, because it made me more cognizant of how I'm cutting with the knife, but at the same time, it also filleted off some of my fingernails. So be very careful with the thing you decide to use that is shitty. You know what I mean? Size 1 to 2 is a good size. Yes. Like a size 1 brush to me is kind of the happy medium, because it can come to a sharp enough tip that I can do some really precise stuff with it, but it also has a big enough belly that I can, use it for wider areas. Unfortunately, it does that thing that I just said not to do, where I start using it for everything, and that ends up becoming a problem. But yeah, like right now, the tip on this is not tight enough for me to do a really good line for a highlight on here, so I'm going to switch off of this one when I actually do this crease. Okay, yeah, I'm all caught up. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of the reasons why I agree with a lot of people who recommend just using shitty craft brushes that you can buy from art supply store, because you're going to learn how to paint, and you're going to see what it's like to paint with bad equipment, and then once you finally buy yourself some nice equipment, you're going to be like, oh, that's what this blending is supposed to look like. That's what this finesse technique is supposed to look like when it's done well. And it's one of those things where it's like, don't get discouraged either if you're not able to do the technique flawlessly, because unless you have really good materials and you've been doing it for a while, it's going to look bad. And so by practicing it over and over again, you're eventually going to teach yourself, how to focus on the things that'll make it look good. Honestly, this kind of finesse thing, I should move back over to the other brush with the finer tip. There we go. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. I feel like I should have bought more sable brushes, because it looks like with the kind of tariffs that are being put in place and with the uncertain economic situation, importing art supplies is going to become prohibitively expensive. And it's just like, well, damn it. But at the same time, I have so many minis to paint, and they don't all have to look like Picassos or whatever, so it's not too huge a deal. I can do what will look like an okay job on them for now, and then as I start being able to afford better equipment again, I can touch them up accordingly, I suppose. Because something that I love about this tremendously is that you can do a mediocre paint job and just touch it up as you get access to better equipment or better experience. Or you could be like me and be a petulant idiot and completely strip the mini and just redo it. I was telling someone that I've repainted one of my minis like 5 times just because I wanted to change how it looks. And you guys have seen some of it. I've repainted Torgaradon a lot. So it is doable, and it can be fairly easy to do, especially if you learn how to strip these minis with IPA. It's not a super difficult task. It's just you're working with IPA, so you got to not breathe it in. Love it when the mediocre paint job ends up being a base coat for a great paint job. Exactly, right? Exactly. My Mortarion, I feel like, was like that, because while I wouldn't say that my first paint job on him was mediocre, it was definitely not great, and I was just kind of like, man, I like him, but I could do better. And then once I learned this high contrast, skill set, it was like, okay, I don't need to strip Mortarion, because trying to find a bucket big enough to soak him in IPA is going to be a disaster. So I just went ahead and painted over him with the new coats. And now my Mortarion miniature is one of my favorites, and I can't wait to actually play him at some point, because he looks really friggin' good. The one thing I am kind of sad that I had to do was glue his wings on, because initially, the way I had him set up, his wings kind of fit in place and were held in place unless you jostled him really hard. So I would just take the wings off to store him and move him. but it got to a point where it's just like, no, I probably ought to just go ahead and attach the wings. And so now they're glued on, and he's become increasingly difficult to transfer, which leads me to believe I really should just go ahead and save up the money and buy myself like one of those Jukoki carrying cases that can fit like 3,000 points of an army, so that I can transport my Death Guard, specifically Morty, a whole lot better. And hopefully you guys are seeing how much better this is starting to look now that it's getting the actual orange highlight on it versus the orange brown that it did have. And like I said before, I'm not doing anything super special. I'm not actually being super precise with this. It's just like, okay, this crease here needs to have an edge highlight right there, and then it needs to have an increasing highlight as it gets closer to the rim. So I'm just going to scribble up until we get that. Because that's always been the thing that gets me with like the really good painters on Instagram and whatnot. Is that everything looks so precise and everything looks so controlled. And in reality, I don't know if it is or not, because I haven't talked to any of them because I'm scared. But from my own experience, it really just feels like I'm scribbling and wiggling the brush with just slightly more intent. I'm not doing anything super specific. But I mean, these guys also have won like Golden Demons and shit, so who am I to criticize them or try and claim that I know how they're doing stuff, you know? Matter of fact, AC Miniatures, who I follow, I don't remember the gentleman's real name, which I feel bad about, but he's won multiple Golden Demons over the past few years for his absolutely stunning work. And it's just like, I gotta actually sit down and watch some more of your streams, bro, because you are an incredible painter. I remember the first time I raided into his stream, he was painting Horus's mace, and I was looking at that like, that's gotta be CG. He's not actually painting that. And no, it was just that he's really friggin' good at what he does. And so, yeah. He was pretty excited when he found out that at the time I was painting an Emperor's Children miniature, and was very excited to show off more. And then not too long after, he got Fulgrim transfigured and then made that into a work of art. And it's like, oh, I was unfamiliar with your game, and I apologize. Here I was thinking I was hot shit because I was showing off my Emperor's Children, but then this guy's coming up with his like Golden Demon winning stuff, and it's just like, oh, I can't believe I found you on Twitch. Okay, I don't think I have time to do the highlight. Let's see. Budget options, making a custom cardboard box. You have once my favorite box at the moment. Yeah, so I don't really, right now I kind of do have a custom box for Mortarion, because the way that I'm carrying him around is in, no, he's in a really useful box, I think. Let me check one moment. I've got it somewhere. I will be right back. That together, we can move. That's some Imperial Fist stuff. Oh, there's Morty. Okay. Those are my sisters in battle. Those are my Plague Marines. I've got Morty and a Great Unclean One in one of the Walmart brand really useful boxes. So let me see if I can show this on camera. Got to pull back on the camera so you guys get to see my less than clean desk. So yep, there that is, and I don't know if that's going to be enough, but this is how I've got Morty and a Great Unclean One stored right now in a magnetized dealy-doo. Oh god, no, that's not going to work. Give me a minute, guys, I can do this. You do this. I think is going to have to happen is I need to pull back on this, and then I need to pull back on the view, because I think I can expand the view backwards. Telephoto, let's do wide and hope that it doesn't show too much. Oh no, you're seeing everything! How dare! It's okay. But yeah, this is how I've got Mortarion and a Great Unclean One stored right now, is via this system.
And I mean, you can even see through the faded glass that Mortarion is quite bright, and I really dig it. And the Great Unclean one, I think I've talked about this before, the Great Unclean one's completely 3D printed. And I'm super friggin' stoked about that, because he turned out looking fantastic. Telephoto. And then zoom back into about 200%, because I can take these guys out and kind of show them off before I gotta go. Let's see. Let's see. One moment, please. One moment, I can do this. I forgot how heavy he is. So this, oops, oh, no, okay, that was not dangerous. So, this is the Great Unclean one. Dang it, it's too zoomed in. I'm sorry, guys, I'm working on things. There we go. This is the Great Unclean one. He is entirely 3D printed. And I think he turned out pretty darn good. I think this is supposed to be Rodicus, I believe. I think my favorite thing is I was able to take some 3D print, or some Reaver bits, and some 3D printed Raven Guard stuff, and just put it around him. And on the back end, I tried to trough it out so it looks like he's dragging and leaving like just a pile of filth and muck behind him. Don't give too much blood, also you take dark. Well, that's absolutely fair. Yeah, I'm not. They're giving me the blood back. The problem is that they're taking out the juices, and that's going to make me a little weak and groggy for a minute. That's why I'm getting something good to eat. And of course, I love showing this guy off. My Morty, I love him. I love that he's got a little sassy nurgling in the front. I love how the wings look. I'm quite pleased with him. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and hop off because it's about time for me to go. So let me put these lads back, and let's figure out who we can raid. Okay, let's see who we got online. Dan Jones, Commander Mittens. Let's refresh that. Okie dokie. It looks like Dan Jones is playing Let's Learn Elden Ring Bingo. I have no idea what that is. I suppose we're going to find out what that is. So, let's go ahead and raid Cause I'm Dan Jones. Let's see if I can raid Cause I'm Dan Jones. Is this going to work? /raid Cause I'm Dan Jones. Did I get that right? Yeah, I did. Okay. Bam. Okay, fantastic. It looks like we're raiding him. So, thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a good time hanging and yapping while I was painting. And I suppose I will see you later. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.